You ever try learning something new and have a little bit of a hard time getting the hang of it in the beginning, or you go home after a lesson or after practice or something like that and you're kind of having a hard time remembering the things that you had to do or the things that you were learning in practice? Or maybe you're a coach or a teacher and you're trying to pass it on to your students or your players or whoever, or even your kids, and you're kind of like, oh man, I'm not sure exactly the best course of attack to pass on these lessons. There's a thing called the F.A.S.T method, and it's an acronym, F-A.S.T, for form, accuracy, speed, timing. It's something I learned a lot of years ago from one of my mentors in the martial arts community, Dave Kovar. Now, I don't know if he's the one who invented it. Knowing him, he probably did. But all I know is that that's the guy that taught it to me a lot of years ago, and it's been something that's really influenced me, not just in teaching my martial arts, but teaching everything from my emergency preparedness to my survival skills to my firearm stuff. And the F.A.S.T method is such an incredible tool, both as a student, because I use it to coach myself when I'm still a student and I'm still training in all those disciplines, and as a teacher, no matter what I'm teaching, we always go back to form, accuracy, speed, timing. And here's how it goes. What's up, Warriors? It's Kyoshi Dave Herman with 5 Elements Tactical Training, here to share with you some warrior skills and drills that anyone can learn and everyone should know. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and thanks for stopping by. If you already follow us on social media, and that's how you find your way over to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button, and YouTube will let you know when the next video drops, so you get all sorts of cool content from here as well. So if you're watching this as a student, or a player, or like the person on the learning end, this is a really good formula for you to be able to follow for your own self-coaching, your own self-progress, for your own home practice. If you're watching this and following along with this as a teacher, or a coach, or a professor, or an employer, or whatever, you could use this as a very good way to explain to your student why you're doing it in this order, why they need to focus on the first things first, why you're going to check on certain things, and why you're going to be able to go back to them later on to make sure that before you get that end goal, that end product, well, man, we got to go through first grade before second, and second grade before third, and third grade before fourth, and so on up to college and life. So here's the F.A.S.T method. All right, so the F in F.A.S.T is for form. And the best way I could describe to you form, regardless of whether you're using it for martial arts or self-defense, you're using it for soccer, baseball, football, whatever, any sports, any athletic thing, or for my students out there, for our firearm skills, man, we go back to this a lot and that stuff, especially when we start moving and shooting, moving and communicating and all that stuff. For my survival students out there, learning how to get a fire going, using your knife and your ferro rod, and man, all these things, you follow the F.A.S.T method. And the first letter is F for form. Form is doing it 100% correctly. So I remember when my kids were in kindergarten or first grade or whatever it is, when they start learning how to write letters, right? And they have that lined paper that has like 2 blue lines and then like a dashed broken blue line halfway through the middle. So the capital letters, the uppercase letters, they take up the whole thing, right? And then your lowercase letters, they take up the bottom part. Now, I'm sure my handwriting is different than your handwriting, than somebody else's handwriting, but we all learned it the same way. And that first way you learn it is the form. So another way to look at it is if we were baking cookies, right? And you read the directions and it says a cup of flour and a half a cup of this and 2 eggs and set the temperature to this long and put it in the oven for that long. If you go a little bit too short on any one of those things, it's not going to come out right. If you go a little bit too much on any one of those things, it's not going to come out right. And then when it doesn't come out right, you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? Well, go back to the list. Go back to the recipe. Did you put a cup? Was it like over the top? Did you flatten the cup? And all that stuff. If you never bake cookies, give it a shot and you'll see what I mean. Form is making sure that each of the steps in doing whatever skill it is are done right. Exactly the way they were taught to you, exactly the way they are meant to be. And later on, when you get to a level of mastery or proficiency, you'll start to bring your own style to it. Watch Grandma cook. Grandma's like, oh, well, I kind of eyeball it. I put this much till that, and until it looks right and it feels right and mixes right and whatever. And oh, I kind of eyeball it and a pinch of this and a punch of that. She's not measuring it, but she's been doing it for so long, she's got the basics down, and now it's her style, which is different from your grandma's, different from my grandma's, different from somebody else's grandma's. Form is making sure that you're doing all the steps correctly. So we talk a little bit more about form because it's the fundamental thing. It's the first thing, the basic thing, the thing that we're always going to go back to when we follow the other pieces to the F.A.S.T method. If any one of them is not right, we're always going to go back to form first. Hey, slow down. Show me how you're doing it. Let me check your stance. Let me check your grip. Let me check, your balance and your focus and what are you looking at and how are you looking at it. Hold on. Is that how you learned it? Because if it's not how you learned it, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to our basics. So for martial arts, when we're doing our striking skills, form is going to be like karate is very stiff and rigid, and boxing's less rigid, but still like, hey man, make sure your hands are up, your elbows are in, make your fist this way. Jiu-jitsu, like, are you falling correctly? Are you tumbling correctly? Are you hip escaping correctly? When you grab the other guy's collar, are you grabbing correctly? And all those things that you really need for the stuff that comes down the road, you got to make sure that your fundamentals are sharp. Then we have a whole video on just the 7 fundamentals of marksmanship for my firearm students. And man, anytime there's some sort of thing, the bullets aren't going where you want them to go on the paper, then we go back to those basics. Hey, let's check your stance, let's check your sight picture, let's check this, and we go right down the list. That's the form. Getting the knots for a shelter going, getting the ridge line for a shelter going, getting a fire going, keeping a fire going, processing your firewood. There's form to every single one of those things. Once you're good at it, everybody will do it a little bit different, but a lot of it the same. Next, A is for accuracy. Once you can do all of the parts correctly, can you hit the target? So back to the handwriting, I've seen people with really beautiful penmanship, but they can't stay on the line. Not very good accuracy. I've seen people in martial arts that have great punch or kick, but they miss the bag a lot, or they miss the other guy a lot, or they miss the target a lot. I've seen some with firearm stuff. Man, everything seems like it's good to go, but then something along the way, maybe they're not putting all the form together at the same time, and it's not like synchronizing the way it needs to, and it's obvious when you look at the target, like, hey man, if you were doing everything correctly, they would be in the middle, but it's not in the middle. Let's go back and diagnose it. When it's back to fire starting, when you're using your knife and your ferrocerium rod to get the sparks going, hey, all right, oh, it's got a lot of sparks, but are the sparks falling on your tinder bundle, right? Are you doing all the steps, and are they hitting the mark? So form first, but accuracy is a very important second, because you need that for the next one and the one after. So when we go back to the FAST method, we're going to look, check the form. Okay, form's good. All right, now slowly, can you hit the target? Let's try. Let's see. Very good. Now, S is for speed. So we teach it as, okay, can you do all the steps correctly? Good. And you can hit the target? Good. Like more times than not, and as close to the center or as close to the way it's supposed to be done as possible? Good. How fast can you do that? How quickly can you do it? S is for speed. So again, speed without the proper steps is incorrect. Speed with the proper steps, but missing the target, incorrect. So you see why form first. That's going to be the thing that creates the most efficiency. You want to use as little energy as possible to get as much result as possible, right? That's your form. Now, as you get better at having your form and the muscle memory and your focus and all of the parts that need to be jiving together, that's where you get the accuracy. And we say slow is smooth, smooth is fast, fast is deadly. All the time, in the dojo, at the range. Everything we do, everything I teach, everything I've learned is always about slow is smooth, smooth is fast, fast is deadly. When it comes to martial arts and survival skills, we want to make sure that everything we're doing is correct, smooth, that it's not costing us a lot of energy, it's not costing us a lot of time, and then once everything is slow and smooth, and that's when fast is smooth too. That's when we're looking for the speed factor. And T is for timing. Now this is the one that comes the latest. And you're always working on the first 3, don't get me wrong. But the timing factor in martial arts, I'll say, hey, are you doing the move correctly? Are you hitting your target? Are you doing it quickly? Now can you do it when your target is on the move or when your target's trying to hit you? And that's when a lot of we see how proficient we are at whatever it is that we're trying to do. When the situation makes it challenging, can we do the skill we're trying to do? Watching my daughter play soccer, or my son play baseball, or my students in the dojo spar, and man, they know the stuff. I watch them do the stuff. Hey, you got to show me to go to this belt and that belt and so on. Hey, my students said for firearms, all right, we do safety class. All right, you could do all that stuff without me watching. All right, let's go to the range. Okay, you could do it very well. You're hitting the target. Everything's good. All right, let me get the timer going. And as soon as there's the time factor, they start freaking out, and that's where all the other parts of the system start to break down. Timing with any skill, is really the part that is most important. You have to have the form. That's a must, right? You got to be able to hit your target. That's a must, right? You got to be able to do it quickly, like smoothly and quickly, but being able to do when the moment is right is what's going to make the difference between, if it's firearms for police officer or armed security or anybody that relies on a gun for their job or home defense, God forbid. Hey, that stitch in time could save you or could kill you, right? Learning self-defense for a tournament, that's cool, that's one thing, but learning self-defense because, God forbid, somebody tried to force himself on you or hurt you or the world is crazy and tried to, whatever your worst scary situation is, that stitch in time, that little bit of hesitation, that zigging when you should have zagged could be the difference between life and death. It could save you or it could kill you. So anytime you're learning anything, from penmanship to baking cookies to martial arts to firearms to building a shelter, all the 5 elements, man. You know what they are. If you don't know what they are, self-defense, firearms training, emergency preparedness, survival skills, and the warrior mindset. When it comes to any of those, form first. Make sure you're doing the skill slow, by the steps, following every single thing so you're building good muscle memory and proper habits and no bad habits. If you already have some bad habits, that's why you have an instructor to help coach you, kind of break the bad habits and start you from scratch and make sure you're starting off on the right foot the next go around. Making sure that you're accurate with whatever thing you're doing, whether it's trying to score a goal in basketball, soccer, or hockey, lacrosse, or it's trying to break that board or kick or punch the bad guys who's trying to kick or punch you, right? Hitting that triangle, that collar choke, or the triangle choke, or arm lock, or whatever submission you're going for. Being able to hit the target. When you start getting fancy moving targets, or you're moving and you got to hit one target the next, that's when all this stuff's going to come in, right? Can you hit the target? Hey, then when we bust out that stopwatch, how fast can you do it? You don't want to make speed sacrifice one of the others. So we make sure it's proper form, hitting the target, and then we start to go from slow to smooth, smooth is fast. Once everything is slow, we get it smooth, then we build our speed. Fast is deadly is when we start to make the timing factor come in, can you hit the moving target? Can you hit the target when the target is on the move or trying to hit you? When we do force-on-force training, gear up in your sparring, that's not hitting the bag, that's not hitting the air, that's not hitting the targets, that's hitting somebody who's trying to hit you. And man, all of a sudden that's when you start to see how well you really know what you think you know. Fast. Form, accuracy, speed, timing. The FAST method. Well, if you made it this far and you like what I'm teaching and preaching, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and like this video. If you're loving it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you've got to have it, make sure you hit the bell notification button so YouTube will let you know when the next video drops. If you're really digging it and you want more, you can find us on all social media platforms at 5 Elements Tactical. Well, that's all I got for now, Warriors. So until our paths cross again, pray for the best, prepare for the rest. I'm Kyoshi Dave Herman with 5 Elements Tactical Training. Thanks for watching.